welcome. Week 2 is now in the books, and I am the loser of the week. My team lost. Those two guys, their teams won. They're much happier than I am.
Don't worry,
But
there's some
well,
silver
Peter,
lining
how
there.
are we doing? How are we doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Dilly, don't beat yourself up, man. There's some silver lining there. Help's coming. Help is coming. Don't worry
Silver
about
lining?
it. It's early, but help
We
help
got
is coming.
shut
Don't
out by the
don't
Jags. We got
don't
shut
worry
out by a
about
team from a
it.
different country. They are the London Jags. They're not the Jacksonville Jags. Come on.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's been a eventful week too. Some teams are already starting to sweat. It's gonna be interesting to see. We've got some crazy injuries that are gonna change the landscape of the season, heading forward. But yeah, man, can't wait to get into it. Some good stuff.
An exciting week too. I think this week is the comeback week for about three teams or so. It was definitely
there
the
were some
comeback
brilliant
week.
comebacks, weren't there?
Yep.
But before we get onto the comebacks, as Peter says, we have got to talk about the Monday night games first. Fresh in our memories, we always talk about Monday night first up. And how about Jalen Hurts for the Eagles?
Yeah,
He
no,
looked
that was
like QB1, accomplished player last night.
yep.
That interception was not his fault. Sometimes screens go wrong.
That's true.
Yeah, no,
Especially because it was quite crowded as well with how it was. So, how were your thoughts on how Jalen played last night? Because my opinion, as a non-biased person who is only biased towards Jalen Hurts, is that he has him in his fantasy team in a couple of leagues. Aside from that, I don't care whether he's the guy for you guys or not. You have a bit more of a vested interest in that.
absolutely. I thought it was a hell of a game, and I finally got to see the growth I needed to see. I needed to see that he wasn't just gonna be coasting at the same level like what he was last year is who he's always gonna be. Obviously, the work he's putting in the off season has paid off because now, if you compare it to last year, he actually looks confident and able to sustain himself in the pocket. He's accurate
He was
with the
hanging in there.
easy. He was hanging in there. He was looking down the field. He was going through his progressions, and that's what I needed to see. It's so hard with quarterbacks that are running QBs in college that come to the NFL and have to like learn how to play the game of football from inside the pockets. That was really good to see, and I would say, guys, that any chance of Gardner Minshew working his way in is now gone. All right, Jalen Hurts has solidified himself with
Dun,
this
dun,
performance.
dun.
Jalen Hurts has solidified his performance with this game and proven that he is the starter going forward for the rest of this season. I'm not going to say he's the franchise yet, but for going forward for the rest of the season, remember, guys, it's only week 2. Like, come on. If he has his next 3 games from
I'm gonna give
stinkers,
you
we don't know.
The Italian gesture. Hey. Come on.
All I'm saying is that I was happy with the performance. He played really well. Um, like even just looking at the stats, 26 for 31, 333 yards, one TD, one INT. But like I said, it's not his fault. On the
And
ground, Miles.
and
Yeah,
do you know what the thing was? Like they played in this two-man, two deep shell.
yeah,
And he just took what was on there.
yeah.
Finding Devontae Smith, finding AJ Brown, finding Goddard, utilizing the run game not just through himself, but they utilized the run game with Miles Sanders as well.
Quez Watkins too, the number 3 guy on there, who basically took Jalen Rager's spot and is producing for us. Like he went 2 receptions for 69
for
yards
that
and the
beautiful
touchdown.
but that was the big the long bomb touchdown, which was perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
But he was targeting the other guys quite a fair bit, and they always seem to be open. Even there were times where he made some good passes, not just because they were wide open, but he went through the progression. I was like, oh, this guy's here. Now I'm going to go to this guy.
Yeah. And I found that he only ran when he needed to run. Like it wasn't a case of, oh, I'm just, yeah.
As well.
He slid. He knew exactly where the down line was. He didn't try and force the ball. So that was really good to see. And that shows the growth that he's had as a quarterback. So I couldn't be happier. A lot of people had us to lose this game against Minnesota, but I think they grossly underestimated the rest of our Eagles team. You know, our
Darius
defensive
Slay?
style. Darius Slay had an awesome. I mean, if he keeps playing like this, like he could have himself, he could be on that
Could he be
defensive player of
could
that
he-
year, like a
could
dark
he play
horse.
himself into an All-Pro, first team All-Pro?
Well,
Well, it was an all-pro performance.
It
I would
was an
yeah,
say
it was
All-Pro
an
that.
all-pro
performance
performance.
yesterday.
And he's done it multiple years as well. Like I think
But he needs to do that. He needs to take because he was traveling. He was traveling
Yeah.
across the field. He was basically taking Justin Jefferson out of the game.
yeah. What I
took that
told you
beating.
guys, I told you guys in preseason, I was watching the scrimmages at practice. This guy had Tyreek on lock. He had Tyreek on lock. And we're gonna see that translate because he can definitely
Bruh.
play. He had him,
Bruh.
but he slipped. I'm telling you, when I saw that, I was
But
like, this guy's ready.
Do you know the thing actually is that
It's practice, man.
No. What I will say about yesterday's game, particularly, was he was able to he didn't have to worry about Justin Jefferson going in behind him, and there was a reason behind it. It wasn't because they were like. It's because the pass rush was able to get towards the quarterback, so that limited time for him to be able to get downfield. They could only take the short to intermediate route, like the short to intermediate passes. That, like, you know, when I read somewhere, like, the defensive line and the cornerbacks, they help each other.
Yeah.
Because if
The front end and the back end got to work together.
in the sense that, like, if you don't provide a lot of time, it doesn't matter if he's clean free, because if he's having to run for his life or if he's having to move in such a way, he's not going to be able to throw it down the field.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, they got to go work in hand. So defensively, your pass rush and your secondary has got to work in cohesion. So your pass rush has got to be able to be generating pressure for your cornerbacks to be able to make impact plays, because they always say this: it doesn't matter how good your cornerbacks are. If your pass rush is not good, the receiver's going to get open.
Yep. It's only a matter of time. Like if we shift over to the Vikings side,
Yeah.
you know, Kirk Cousins.
In prime time, if somebody had told him this game, just imagine this game's at 1 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
This game would have been plain sailing for them.
I mean, he might have issues seeing at nighttime. You never know. He might need to go and get that last sec. Well, the last sec probably didn't help Jamie, so I don't even know what I'm talking about. It might not even help Cousins, for all I know. But hey, he needs to get that checked out, because. Or maybe I don't know. Is he like Cousins is like a vampire?
He turned into mush in this game.
He can't play at night.
Maybe there's something. Maybe he suffers from night blindness. I don't know, but Kirk Cousins, I think the Vikings are in a situation with Kirk in that he always plays good enough to make sure you don't get the pick of the litter or a chance to get a crazy quarterback in the draft. You know what I mean? So he always plays good enough to make sure you're out of that top 15, but never bad enough to make sure that you're in it. So they're kind of like in a situation where they either need to move on from him or look to draft someone late. Hopefully you evaluate someone really well, and then you bring them in and you can sit and then move on. But I think
here in this
go
game?
ahead. Yeah.
Kirk Cousins had more rushing yards than Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, but up against our defensive front, like this is what happens when Gannon decides to rush the linebackers and actually blitz more. Like we were able to.
Is it only in this game or to start the season?
Well. He timed it well. He wasn't blitzing like a stupid amount.
Yeah.
There were like, I think I remember one where middle linebacker came in late. He came in late and completely obliterated Kirk Cousins for a sack.
I think that might have been Fletcher Cox. It's either Josh Sweat or Fletcher Cox. It actually knows. I think Cox had the explosive one. I think it was Sweat. Yeah, because Cox had the huge one. Yeah.
If I look at how many sacks did you get?
I think we got 2. I think it was 2 sacks. 2 sacks, yeah. Fletcher Cox and Josh Sweat. Yeah. I think it was Josh Sweat that came in for that one.
And And well, looking at the Vikings, they've got to. Well, how many times do they play at night time? We've got to actually.
You're just gonna say something about that nighttime game. It's not for it. But yeah, so I
it's
think
peculiar.
yeah, no, it's strange. But
Well,
like
good news for them. They've got a daytime game next week.
yeah, so I think they'll do a lot better there. But I mean, Gannon DC, I think someone must have had a word with him because based on his week 1 game, he barely. I don't think he maybe called 2 blitzes the whole game. But outside of that, there was no pressure. He just stuck the bait. He said, "Look, we've got athletic, explosive linebackers. Please use them and send pressure." So I think that's what he decided to do this game to try and spice things up, and obviously helped out. Because they were going off the tape from the first game. They weren't expecting they knew things would be different, but I don't think they were expecting things to be that aggressive. But yeah, no, I'm happy with this win.
Looking at the Vikings, their next primetime game is week 12.
Against who?
Against who?
The Patriots.
We'll see how the Patriots are.
Is it in the evening?
It says 7:20.
So in the evening.
Yeah.
Oh, Patriots gonna win that one.
At home.
Patriots gonna win that one.
And then after that, week 15 against the Colts. And
as long as in the evening, your Colts have a good chance.
Week 18 against the Bears at Soldier Field.
At Soldier Field.
But yeah, Vikings. They're just. I remember someone said, "Why haven't they targeted Adam Thielen?" And they targeted Adam Thielen once, and he got picked off.
And he choked it up right at the end as well. So I think in games like this, when you're struggling, if the QB goes to you in confidence and
this was that wasn't he completely got undercut. So it wasn't like it was anything to do with Thielen. He was miles behind it.
Yeah, but that can scare you. If you're a quarterback and you're like, man, Darius Slay's on that guy. He's hungry today. He's a shark in the water. I'm just not going to risk it. I'm not going to go to him. Even if he's covered, I'm going to be like, I'm going to go to someone else. Maybe they're not as proven, but I'd rather go to them and know that Slay and Bradbury are not covering those guys. I'd take a safety covering or a linebacker covering over Slay or Bradbury because they were like attacking on that game. But I'm happy with this win. That's all I've got to say.
Okay, moving on. Other Monday night game, because we had a double header. We had this glorious scenario where we could watch 2 games at once on in prime time. And these Buffalo Bills, they are. Would anyone say they are the favourites in the AFC?
Well, it's looking like it's looking like they're the top team in the AFC at the moment. I'd say probably it's between them and the Chiefs, but they've been more impressive than the Chiefs.
Yep.
Their roster is stacked from top to bottom. Josh Allen is playing lights out. I'll probably say he's probably the favorite for the MVP race 2 weeks into the season.
Yep.
As it stands right now, he's having an outstanding year, but it's still a long season. It's still a long way to go. So, but they were very impressive, and this is the second consecutive year that they've been absolutely dominant. And I think they also exercised some demons because they've lost to Tennessee in the past, but this time
they
give Tennessee no chance.
Tennessee last year, and this time around.
Oh, was it that game that was his name? The safeties. Was it that game? I remember last year they played a team, and the media was talking about how they let the team run right down their throats, and the safeties were not happy about what the media was saying about them giving up so many rushing yards.
I think that would have been against the Colts potentially.
Oh, okay. Because they were Micah Hyde and Poyer was really pissed when I think it happened last season.
I think that might have been in ahead of the Colts game. This in that game was it was a back and forth shootout, and Josh Allen got stopped on a QB sneak at the 3-yard line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this game in particular, I mean, the way they're playing right now, they're playing, usually teams ramp up to being this good late, but these guys have just hit the ground running. Like, and you have to remember, Gabe Davis wasn't even in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I
Big
mean? I think
defensive
a lot of
piece
people,
wasn't there.
like, you know what I mean? He's a key offensive weapon. He wasn't even in the game. It didn't matter. You know, maybe that's a sign of how bad Tennessee were on defense, but it's neither here or there. You know, he spread the ball around. Dawson Knox, McKenzie, Jake
Kumaro.
Kumaro.
Was a particular,
Like,
so Jake Kumaro was a particularly a key one because there were some key passes that he made to Kumaro. Like, he was acting like the Gabe Davis. You know, at times if Diggs wasn't, you know, couldn't go to Diggs, he would normally go to Davis.
yeah,
But this was, he was going to Kumaro. He only went, how many times? He went to him. So he only had 2 receptions for 50 yards, but those 2 receptions, from my memory, were very important receptions.
big plays, yeah. Maybe it helped push them over the edge and turned it into a 40-burger late.
But Josh Allen here, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. He only rushed once.
He's going to have an average game and we're all going to be disappointed. And he's still going to be throwing for like 200 yards, 3 TDs, two touchdowns. And people are going to say, yeah, Josh Allen was off today. He's not his usual self. But that's how good he is. And it's insane to see. Stephon Diggs and how he's been playing 3 TDs, 148 yards. Like, if he keeps going like this, you know how you have guys who are in the top 5? And I'm always like, you've got to go on, what have you done for me lately? That's what the NFL is. It's not, oh, I did this 2 years ago. I did this, you know, it's what have you done lately? If he keeps going like this, we're talking, he's going to either be 1 or 2 by season end in terms of the best receiver in the league. In terms of production and performance, like, he is on a roll right now, you know, and he looks uncoverable out there.
Okay.
You know?
Question. What week does Malik Willis start? I want you guys to put a week
Next week.
and say no, he's not starting next week. No, he's not starting against the Raiders.
It's too soon.
You think it's too soon?
Wait. Hold on a second. Actually, upon second thoughts, now that I know they're playing the Raiders, look, play him. He got wheels. He can run. We know the defensive line can run.
You know what Ryan Tannehill is.
The defensive line, as in Max Crosby, can't run.
Well, if they
He's
could,
an animal.
they wouldn't have lost this weekend. I'm just saying.
You need someone that can evade the initial rush and at least.
Kyler Murray.
No, he's not.
Well, I don't know, but he's got wheels though. He can move.
He's got wheels. He can move around.
So one thing I'll say was Malik Willis had a welcome to the NFL moment. He tried to rush on a 3rd down, and he got absolutely obliterated.
He got popped.
Absolutely popped, and it was like, nah, boy, go back on that bench because you're not.
That's not gonna work, man.
You are not getting this first down.
It's like, that is not gonna work here, Malik. Not now. Not on this level. But I think
one thing I did see in this game, because I was watching it quite, avidly between the 2 games, and Derrick Henry particularly, the Bills defense were able to get him to stop him moving his feet. They were making him move sideways. They weren't allowing him to go downhill.
North and south.
And he wasn't able to go north and south, and they completely stymied him. Like, 13 carries for 25 yards.
Yeah. He's not an elusive back. Once he gets going though, he's very hard to stop. If you give him 5 yards to generate momentum, like, he's very hard to tackle and bring down. So it does make sense because they knew that, well, the Tennessee Titans are built to run. So they're built around running the ball. And they know even if they're not able to stop him, if they can get him going sideways, then at least they can kind of diminish what he's able to do. But if you going back to that Malik Willis point, I agree with Pete. Like, heading forward, and this is what I mean. teams come into the season with expectations saying they can do this, they can do that.
They're
Things
expecting
go
to try and
sideways.
challenge us for the division, and
Exactly.
neither of us are. Neither of us are there
Yeah.
competing for the division. We're competing
Yeah.
for fourth place at the moment, both of us.
Yeah, but it's kind of like if you want to compete, you kind of see the ceiling. You already know what you're gonna get from Ryan to Tannehill. And one thing I want to say is Traylon Burks, as a rookie, he's playing okay. He had 47 yards, which isn't great, but then again, you don't
He had
have
half the team's offense here. Tannehill only
yeah.
had 117 yards.
And a young receiver like that, you need someone like an AJ Brown there to take the attention away, which allows you to develop and learn the position in the NFL. And I think, like, basically right now, when I went on that
Look at
Reddit,
AJ Brown and how he's performing over in Philly. He
Yep.
performed well last night.
I think they're gonna look back on this and realize that it was a big
But
mistake.
they
You
wouldn't.
bring
They
in a
wouldn't
new
have got. They wouldn't
quarterback.
have got. They couldn't get Traylon Burks without that trade. They got him in that trade.
It's just one of those things where they have a young QB, but they need a star receiver. If Traylon Burks becomes that, great. But if not, it's just going to be harder to develop him. Like when I went to the Tennessee Titans subreddit, they're all asking for the GM's neck. Like they're all saying the GM needs to go. Just like with your situation, Pete, he's had a long time with the team to build that roster, and it's like, how can you still be one-dimensional after this long? You've got to be able to adapt. And that's what he's
but
failed. Mike Vrabel's going to be there. He's a great coach, but I think John Robinson at the end of this season, regardless of what happens, because I think they will under-deliver as a team. I think he's gone.
I mean, I think you can give him a little bit of a credit because since he's been GM, they've had more winning seasons. To his credit, I mean, they've got number one seed in the AFC. I think twice during his tenure as the GM, and this could potentially be an off season for him as a GM. But I think his philosophy was clear. I mean, he comes from the old school whereby running the football is of the utmost priority. And also I think with how good Tannehill became when he got to Tennessee for the 2 years that he was good, it sort of made you realize, okay, let's fill up other areas. Let's not really look at the QB of the future. So that obviously one of the things that they didn't know is it was Tannehill going to regress. But there was always a regression, but they didn't know when it was going to set in. And that's kind of where they're at the moment. So let's see how the season goes because no, but you gotta understand. Here's the thing, though. I'm not counting Tennessee out yet because Vrabel can coach. I mean, sometimes like last season, they had no business last season making the playoffs and getting that high seed that they got.
Let me put it this way, right? You look at the list of games that they've got. So now, the Raiders is probably the most difficult game they have got until week 9. And
I think we see Malik Willis around week 10 if they have a losing record.
So let me put it. So they've got the Raiders now. They've got my Colts twice. So in week 4 and week 7. Now, the way that the Colts are playing, that's not a difficult game. But if the Titans continue to play like the way they're playing, then you never know who's going to win that game. They've got the Commanders in week 5, the Texans in week 8. Week 9 is against the Chiefs at Arrowhead. They're going to get they could get pasted there.
Yeah, they could.
And then so they've got a tough schedule from week 9 through week 13 because they've got Chiefs, Broncos, and if the Broncos have sorted themselves out, because you never know whether they will have by then. And then they have the Packers at Lambeau. The Bengals, will that line have kind of improved because they've had a bit of time by then? And then they've travelled to the Link and play the Eagles. That is a difficult stretch. And then they've got the Chargers later on down the line in week 15. So they haven't got a soft schedule. They've finished top of the division last year. It's going to be difficult, but with some of the other, with nobody really firing on all cylinders minus the Chiefs and the Bills, It's going to be interesting to see how they fare. Now we'll move on to one of the big comebacks. Tua leading those Miami Dolphins to a big comeback victory over the Baltimore Ravens. My brother was apoplectic with rage. He is a Ravens fan himself. And what about those two speedsters? Because they're incredible together. Absolutely incredible together.
They are. But I'm gonna put this comeback win and this loss by the Ravens squarely on the Ravens defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't go up 21 points, you're up 21 points into the fourth quarter, and you give up, you lose the game. But the thing is, I kind of, especially the cornerbacks from the Raiders, right? From the Ravens, sorry. You're playing a team for the first three quarters, you've been able to contain these fast wide receivers. Now it's the fourth quarter. If anything, even if the Ravens play prevent defense, you win this game.
When you play prevent, you prevent yourself from winning. You know what they say.
No, but hear me out. The reason why even if you play prevent defense, you win this game is because these two wide receivers from the Dolphins are the fastest wide receiving duo in the league. And how did you let Tyreek Hill get behind your defense twice? And not to take anything, and also my last point before I finish. If you watch both throws that Tua made, Tyreek had to slow down to catch the ball and still managed to score a touchdown.
I think that's testimony to just how fast he is acceleration wise. But I agree with what you're saying, Pete. Like you shouldn't see the back number jersey of either of those two. You should tell your safety, I don't care if you give ground, they do not get over you. You make that shell over the top, they just don't. That you keep them in front of you the whole time. If you're going to make a tackle, you're coming downhill to make that tackle, even if it's 60, 40 yards, 50 yards down the field. You're coming downhill to make the tackle. You do not let them get behind you.
In this game?
Yeah.
Without looking at the stat sheet, because you probably got it in front of you.
Yeah, I've got it in front. I won't look.
I'll ask Peter this question. How many times was Jalen Waddle targeted in this game?
I don't know, probably, 10, 11 times?
19.
19 times?
19 times, 11 receptions, 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyreek, 13 times, 11 receptions, 190 yards and 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. So they're pretty close. You know, they complement each other really well.
So they do. So see, this even makes me even mad being, the defensive guy that I am, although I do like offense as well. It makes me mad because for the first 3 quarters, you knew they were trying to get the ball to these two guys, and you've been able to keep them contained. How in the fourth quarter? I know in the fourth quarter you could say you were tired or whatever. If you're tired, stay back. Just keep them in front of you. I'd rather if let's say Tua throws the ball to Tyreek, right? And Tyreek is in front of you, and then he made you miss, and then he scored. I prefer you to, miss tackle him and let him score. That is fine. At least you were back there, and then he juked you out and scored. But I think
being too close to the line of scrimmage. I think they were too close. From my experience as a corner, I found that when you run hip with a receiver and he's pulling away, you're running full speed, mind, and you're pretty fast. And to feel and see another human pulling away, it's terrifying. It's demoralizing. But
it is.
You do not line up at the line of scrimmage. You don't run. You should tell them, I don't want you running hip to hip with these guys at all, because they will pull away. And that's exactly what happened in the game. Like,
to be honest, I don't think they were just running hip to hip, though. I think they were getting they were running hip to hip 15 down yards down the field, and then the rest they're just pulling away.
They're still accelerating. It's like going up against like a saloon car and a sports performance rally car. I'm already at top speed, but the other car's still accelerating. So, but I mean, Lamar Jackson, he played great. This isn't on
Yeah,
him.
he did.
He's sat.
No,
He's
it's
gonna
not.
sit down and be like, I'm just gonna add more to how I'm gonna add another 2 mil to that. Because if you look at his performance, 21 for
He played great.
29, 318, 3 touchdowns, 0 INTs. He did his job. He held his end of the bargain up. You know, offense was good, but this is a collapse on the Ravens defense. I think they will fix these problems, but Miami's a problem. Like
They
Miami's,
are a
I think
problem.
Tua has
I
put
thi-
to
I-
sleep any doubts he's had, and it's kind of
No,
put to
no,
sleep.
I don't think he
no,
has any doubts.
no. Hold on a second, though.
There's a lot of people down. A lot of people are like, they need to move on. They need to look for a
he
trade.
doesn't have doubts. He
Yeah.
doesn't have doubts.
Miami
Listen,
did.
listen. Hold on a second, right? Here's how I put it. They finally found a system that works for Tua. Okay, so getting Jalen Waddle and trading for Tyreek Hill was a game changer because Tua needs speed, guys. He doesn't have a hell of an arm. He doesn't have a big of an arm. He's accurate, and this is the perfect system for him. It's a West Coast offense whereby, listen, the offense that Tua plays in, this is the best offense that he's going to make his mark in the NFL. This is, and I love it in a way. The reason why I love it is not because I love Tua or anything. It's because Miami as a franchise have done Tua a very excellent job. They've been able to find a coach with an offensive system that fits
Mike
Tua
McDaniel.
and can put it together and help this young quarterback blossom. It's not kind of like a blueprint on having a quarterback and trying to make everything possible to make it work. Forget the Brian Flores situation for a second, but offensively, this is the best system for Tua.
That's kind of made that whole situation old news because I think if you're winning in this league, it can cure a lot of things. You know what I mean? A lot of people have kind of moved on. I think Mike Daniels is doing a hell of a job, and I think this is the thing. If you want a high flying offense, you draft a young quarterback. It's kind of like if you have a vet quarterback. Here's my take: if you have a veteran at QB, you can bring in a defensive head coach.
Yeah.
If you've got a young, offensive-minded rookie quarterback, you've got to go with the offensive guy, which is kind of what I think needs. I mean, we're not there. We're not going to talk about it yet, but it's kind of what I think needs to happen with the Jets, realistically. I'm saying it.
Well, no, but
I think
the Jet. We're gonna talk about the Jets.
We'll get there
later, but the Jets don't. Yeah. The Jets had multitude of problems. They didn't just have.
Yeah.
Just in the quarterback situation. But Baltimore, I think they'll sort themselves out. I would say that they're still favourites for the AFC North. Now.
Who, Baltimore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in our predictions, I predicted them to win the division, didn't I?
Yeah, I didn't predict them to win, but then it appears some of the teams that I was high on are nowhere near where they should be. Speaking, well, not speaking of a team that I was high on because I put them to finish bottom of the AFC West, but Peter, you put in our group chat about 40 minutes before the end of the game. There's no way this team is making the playoffs. The Arizona Cardinals then. Well, no, actually, no, I'm not going to say the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray. The Kyler Murray Cardinals just stormed back and took this game.
I was blown away. Like, I did not... I was ready to tune out of the game because I was like, this game is done. Like, only because I know, looking at the rest of that team and how the rest of the team is playing, Arizona-wise, I was like, I don't think they can work their way back. They're not built for this type of comeback. But I think Kyler Murray has proven once again that he has got the whole team, the whole franchise, people are riding on his coattails. Like, he is carrying this franchise, and he's worth every penny they paid him, regardless of everything else, his gaming habits, etc., etc. That doesn't matter. The football side, when he's on the field, it's as easy as breathing for this guy. That's what you have to recall. It is as easy as breathing. I think in terms of talent in the league right now, in terms of like raw talent, he's that guy. Like I love Kyler Murray, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not a Cardinals fan, but I think you have a hell of a quarterback because he's just so gifted.
We have ourselves a Cardinals fan in the chat, and he turned it off at halftime. Going back to it before the end of the So really, actually, no, it wasn't Kyler. It wasn't Kyler. Arizona Sports Guy 49. He is the reason because he came back and then all of a sudden they're invincible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
MVP.
Absolutely. I mean, it's what you got to show. And I think at halftime, when I put in a group, like our season was over because when you're 20 points down going into halftime and you're playing a Raiders team that have all these weapons and a good quarterback, you know the second half is going to be a bit of a game. But the thing is, I think one of the things that as Cardinals fans, and I think Kyla just reminded some of our fans that to have a bit more faith in the team instead of reacting based on the first. Because on the first half, I was ready to throw in the towel. We're done. I don't think we're going to make the playoffs. And even right now, I'm not fully confident in us making the playoffs because we've got one of the toughest schedules. We're just going to see how each game goes. But in this game, Kyla proved that 230 million pounds they gave him, he's worth every single penny, like Will said. He put a team on his back in the second half. And the defense also played incredibly well. They shut down the Raiders in the second half.
In particularly, I think how much of this was Kyler and how much of this was the Raiders choking?
I mean, it's a little bit of both, but then also I think people say the Raiders choked, right? But here's the thing: in the second half,
if you take Arizona hat off,
completely. Yes, the Raiders choked. But for me, I would say it was more to do with Raiders choking because you go. I think getting into the fourth quarter, it was 23-7. Now 23-7, you find a way to close out the game. Like every NFL team, yeah, you shoot the clock to run away. But they thought they could, get some plays, get a couple of first downs, score more touchdowns, similar to how the Chiefs kept on scoring. The funny thing is that the Chiefs, their offense is different. They have multiple of ways. They have ways of methodically driving down the field, and Derek Carr and Patrick Mahomes.
But have you ever seen a player on 2 consecutive receptions?
Just like AZ Sports Guy said right now, is that the Raiders defense, they were gassed because Kyler started running, and that's the aspect of Kyler just went. I got to do something to make us get back into the game, which is throw the ball, use your legs, and that is the exciting, that's the dangerous Kyler. And I think because of the injury risk, Kyler always tries to play from the pocket first. But the thing is that if he was to commit to being a full-time dual threat quarterback, he's going to be incredibly dangerous in this game because his leg is such dynamic, and that 2-point conversion, that 20 seconds to score that 2-point conversion.
That was crazy.
That was ridiculous. Like
I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
But that was also a bad defensively from the Raiders because they went so far deep into the end zone that it basically said, "Come on, Kyler, run."
How far out of the end zone were
they?
They
challenged because the fastest player on the field.
Yeah, there was just enough space between Kyler, the line of scrimmage, where he had the threat to throw because he went so far back. When he came back forward, they were like, damn, he can still throw the ball. He still has across the line of scrimmage. So I think that forced the corners back. They had to go back. But then with this kind of speed he's got, with the kind of speed that Kyler has, like as soon as he hit that line of scrimmage, he was like, all right, now I'm going to tuck it and go. And it was over. One thing I want to say about that play, 20 seconds is a hell of a lot of time in a football game. If you watch the Raiders defensive line, it literally got to a point where they weren't rushing anymore. You know, when you're like outside a nightclub and 2 people are scuffling and they're just pushing each other back and forth. No technique. They're just shoving each other with their arms, shunting each other. That's all they were doing because they were exhausted. They were like, this play's still going. I can't give me the oxygen. Like they were just like, I've given up. If you watch the play,
they're giving up. But more than anything, that is the miraculous of Kyler. But that 2 points to AJ Green. That was a frozen rope.
Oh,
To stand there and to zip that ball in. You see, that is the flashes, that is the quality of what you look for that, for that. That's throws franchise quarterbacks make, if you get what I'm
yep.
trying to say.
So
You know,
yeah, on that 20-second 2-point conversion run, Murray officially ran 85.69 yards. That's just completely.
he had to score after that. When he ran
He had to score.
85.6, he had to score 2 points. You had to score there.
What
That
he
frozen
knew.
rope was amazing. And also, so going
AJ
forward,
Green.
I like to see and AJ Green had dropped crucial passes throughout the game. There was a couple of drops that he had. And for Kyler to come back to him, that's a confidence booster, that
Redemption.
I'll still come back to you at some
So
point.
Raiders
Yes, you
now
drop
0-2.
some
So
passes.
okay, thoughts. So moving on from the Cardinals itself, Raiders. They're
Well, I
0-2.
said they were gonna finish third in the division, but
So they're 0-2
Yeah.
right now. They're going to go and face another 0-2 team in the Tennessee Titans. So one of these teams is very likely to be 0-3. We're not going to get a tie very often.
Raiders are not making the playoffs. I'm calling it. No, I don't think they're gonna make it because they played 2 games whereby they were very close.
Do they win this game? Are they capable of winning this game over in Tennessee?
I
think
believe
they're
so
capable.
because I think they're gonna learn from the game that they just lost, and I think that's gonna push them on to finish out the game against Tennessee because
Right.
you're at the bottom now. You can only just come back up.
We'll talk more about that game obviously on Thursday when we do our preview show. Now talking about the 2 of the other teams in the same division, they met on Thursday night. Chargers, Chiefs. Thoughts on this game? Because
Chargers got robbed.
explain.
Asante Samuel's INT was an INT. That ball did not hit the turf. He picked that ball. You get what I'm saying? So I mean, looking at the replays and stuff like that, I'm like he picked the ball. So that was a potential game changer right there, and they didn't give it. And I think for the Chiefs, it goes to show that it's still their division. I mean, Chargers have made improvements, and this division is clearly the early favorites in this division is the Chargers and the Chiefs. I think them 2 are gonna fight it out and see who's gonna win it at the end. But right now, it's advantage Chiefs. Herbert played well, and I gotta give Herbert a bit of credit. He's one of the few quarterbacks that have that dog in him.
He started to target, but the thing is, Herbert had that injury. So he received that injury, and we don't know how that's going to affect him come next week. Now,
yeah, but to still standing there with that injury and make some of the throws that he made was
that shows
unbelievable.
the dog that he's got in him. Now,
kind of the dog too.
So I saw a lovely picture just in one of my WhatsApp groups just now, and it said, so it's got a picture of this Oral-B Glide multi-protection floss, right?
Yeah.
Which is 48 yards long, in this little thing. And it goes, for the second week in a row, this floss has more yards than Austin Eckler.
Oh, man.
39 yards, 36 yards in his first 2 games.
Yeah, no, it's turning into like trials and tribulations for him. But I think it's the price you pay for being a bell cow. Like, people know, all right, we're going to try and take him away. That's someone we can stop. But when you have a QB like Justin Herbert, it becomes an uphill struggle because it doesn't matter if you remove the run. He can throw the ball on you. You know what I mean? So I think that's why it's been it's going to be hard for him. It's going to be hard for him because he's not like a traditional 3 down, 4 down back, but that's mainly down to like his size. He can catch the ball, so he has some flexibility. But it's just one of those things. I think they need to try and experiment a bit. Perhaps have Sonny Michel give him a few more carries, Joshua Kelly as well. They can they
in
can
my
bring
wholly
him in
biased opinion,
and see what
in
he
my
can
wholly
do.
biased opinion from a fantasy football perspective, just use Eckler properly. They're not using him properly. Come on,
They know how to use him.
they're just
They
not
know how
using
to
him
use him
properly.
from past seasons, but he's just not. He's just not getting it done. You know, it's not easy.
If you look
I mean,
at
how many carries did they give him in the Thursday night game?
14,
It was 14 carries,
14 carries,
39 yards.
39 yards. It's
So
with it was targeted 10 times in the passing game, but that's because they were quite far behind.
yeah, even if you were to give him double that, I still don't think he goes over 100. So that's why
No, he doesn't.
they're kind of
I
looking at
think
like there's no point in giving this guy all these carries if he's not going to go over 100. We need him to get to like 150. You know what I mean? And then we can work with that. But if he's
And he
not
was
giving you the
touted to be one
yardage,
of
you've got to.
the top running backs for the year. Like when you I'm going to use the fantasy football. They expect like the top guys who are going to be performing at the top level.
Mm.
Austin Eckler was supposed to be one of the top 5 from a running back perspective. So it's interesting to see how he'll do next week. Now they have, looking at their schedule, they've got the Jags at SoFi. So we'll see how that goes. We'll talk about that properly on Thursday. But, well, thanks to AZ Sports Guy for popping in. And we'll catch him another time. Kansas City Chiefs, they look awesome. They look very, very good. Now, they've got a little bit. Well, they've got a 1-game lead over the Chargers within their division. But
It's going to go down to the wire.
do you think it's going to go down to the wire, or do you think the Chargers will drop a few games?
Um, I
irrelevant?
think they've shown that they can punch through adversity. You know what I mean? Whereas before, let's say like a season ago, you know, you'd expect them to drop some games, but I think right now they know their identity, they know who they are. You know, so I don't see them dropping games they're not meant to lose. You know, so
well,
I
I know they're going to be winning this weekend.
yeah.
We know
who they play.
Colts.
Have some faith, man.
I have no
Have
faith.
some faith.
I have no faith in this team.
Hey man.
I'm broken.
Suck
They've broken me,
for
and it's only
CJ
2
Stroud.
weeks.
Suck for Stroud, is it? Yeah?
Yeah, it doesn't kind of work as suck for luck, does it?
Nah, it doesn't quite work.
But Chiefs, they've got the Colts. Then they've got a big one. Week 4, Tampa Bay. In Tampa. Now, we know that Brady's going to be doing some blood sacrifices. He's going to sacrifice his children.
Well, you haven't had the latest news, for have you?
What, he doesn't do blood sacrifices?
Well, it was the hold on a second. Oh, sorry. So apparently, the word around the street is it was Gazelle that was doing them sacrifices, and Gazelle said, "I'm not doing any more sacrifices for you anymore."
Yeah, but we're talking about the blood sacrifices that got him victories. Nothing to do with.
But that's what I'm saying. It wasn't him
Maybe
that
she-
was directly doing it. It was Gazelle
She
that
was the
doing
one.
them
She was the one running the
sacrifices.
Colts. She was the one running the Colt in the background.
And she said,
I'd
"I'm
love
not doing
a
it anymore."
If they should do a
And now,
reality TV show.
watch Brady, yeah. Right now, Brady's annoyed at everything. Everything agitates him. He gets pissed off. He's throwing hissy fits, all that kind of stuff. And that's because Giselle said, "You said you was gonna retire. You didn't retire, so I'm not doing any more blood sacrifices for you to win anymore." Done.
But anyway,
Giselle is a witch, confirmed.
But back to that. So they've got some interesting games though coming up. Colts, Bucks, Raiders. I expect them to beat at home. Then they host the Bills at home in a AFC Championship revenge game. And then the 49ers.
That's gonna be a juicy one.
Now, we'll talk about the 49ers a little bit later on, but now with them having Jimmy G at the helm, it's a big difference, I think. But Chiefs look good, and we fully expect them to be. I fully expect them to be in the playoffs, and challenging for the AFC title. Now, moving on to a team that surprised us to be up this high in the billing. The New York Jets and Joe Flacco completed a miraculous 2-minute comeback victory over the Cleveland Browns.
Let's just
This was ridiculous.
yeah, no, it was insane. Sorry to take all the air out of the room, but we all know it was Jacoby Brissett that boxed this game
wasn't
up.
Brissett's fault. This was the defense and the special
Well,
team.
the defense and special teams, yeah, but it's the INT late.
Brissett never got the ball back. That was the thing. Brissett
Yeah.
never. After they scored that touchdown, after Nick Chubb ran that ball in for that touchdown, they never got from. If I look at the drive history, they didn't get that ball back. They had 22 seconds to get down the field and score a. Well, no, just to score a field goal. 22 seconds for the majority of quarterbacks isn't enough.
No.
Unless you put Mahomes with a Tyreek, which was a freak, they had the fastest player.
Again, like I'm saying, how do you let that happen? So again, early on, and like I said, this past weekend is gonna be known as the comeback week, simply because a lot of these defensive teams, their defenses let them down. Cleveland Browns, 22 seconds, and you win the game. Like I said, play a mixture of you're not playing prevent defense, but you're playing sort of more coverage defense. Instead of if you're gonna go after the quarterback in the final few moments, make sure you get home. And Joe Flacco's a statue. He's not gonna move around and stuff. So I still don't know how the Browns defense allowed that to happen, because they had the game won literally with 22 seconds to go.
How about Garrett Wilson in this game?
Yep.
Oh, he balled. He balled out.
He balled out as advertised. 8 receptions, 102,
for 2
TDs. Crazy.
14,
he balled out.
14 targets.
And I swear he was injured at some point in the game, and he still came back and still balled out. So credit to him. He sounds like a secure pick. I just want to say that now the NFL, we are starting to see a wide receiver revolution, whereby rookie wide receivers are actually making an impact from their first year onwards. Before, about 5-6 years ago, they had to wait.
With the first rounders, more
I think it's a mixture.
I'd say it's mainly the culture, because they're throwing these guys into games right off the bat. You're no longer having to wait.
True.
You're just being put right in. You're like, okay, you're the guy. Even if you're taken in the second or third round, you will play, and you're gonna play a big part. You know what I mean? If you look at
it's true, but what I'm trying to hint at, Will, is the fact that about 5, 6, 8 years ago, rookie wide receivers were not getting 1,000 yards. They'll get 800, 900, and in their second and third seasons, that's when they matured enough to. But now they're doing it from their rookie year, which means that the way they're being coached up in college has improved dramatically. That they're hitting the league and hitting off running and setting new expectations. So I'm quite pleased to see that development. So now it seems like the college game, I wouldn't say it's caught up to the NFL, no, but these college players, some of these, they're
more pro ready than they've ever been.
Exactly, than they ever were. That's the right word I was looking for, pro ready before. And shout out to Garrett Wilson. He balled out. He had an awesome game.
Also, Breece Hall didn't have a lot of carries, but 750. That's a hell of a game.
Now the question is,
when they're back coming from behind, you've contributed.
Well, quick question for you, but hey, come on now, don't take the bait. So Zach Wilson is healthy. Who starts for the Jets now?
Zach Wilson for me.
I think they've got to go back to Zach Wilson. there's no
I think it's a
future with
victory,
Joe.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's a
there's no
victory, but they've got to. I mean, Joe is Joe Flacco. Like he's on the tail end, the twilight of his career. They brought him there to be a backup. They've got to go back to your boy Wilson. Regardless of how he plays. Obviously, if he stinks it up, I could see them pulling him, but I don't think that's likely. I think you live and die.
Right. I think they're
Yeah.
running him out to the end of the season at least.
Yeah, you have to see what he's gonna do in year 2. That rhymes.
Exactly. The Browns. Well, if we look at actually that play, that the onside kick, that New York Jets player who batted the ball back into field, because that was going out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
That was a brilliant heads-up play. Because he basically, the Browns thought, all right, it's going out. Our job is done. And then he just went dunk and brought it back in towards play, and all hell broke loose. But the Browns themselves, we know they shouldn't have lost this game. If you look at Chubb, 17 carries for 87 yards, that's a pretty good, and 3 touchdowns, and they still lost. And Jacoby wasn't terribly inefficient as well, offensively. So I think this was just the defense and special teams completely had a major screw up.
Such as the tale of week 2.
I'm not completely down on them as a team actually anymore, because they know what their identity is as a team.
Yeah.
Offensively, they're going to be run heavy until their QB1 comes back from his providing that he does come back.
Yeah.
At week 12. But defensively, they need to get rid of the errors that they made yesterday. Now, we shall move on to another AFC North team, but this team has changed their O-line, and it's not changed whatsoever. Cincinnati got absolutely mauled by Dallas when it comes to offensive line play. What is going on there?
It's crazy. I mean, Cincinnati Bengals could be the new snakebite franchise. It looks like to me that they have a problem. Yeah, you have an amazing quarterback in Joe Burrow, and we're going to struggle to see that if he's running for his life constantly. Like,
he wasn't even running. He was collapsing straight on him.
Forget risk of injury. It's a detriment to the offensive pieces you have in place. I think it's definitely going to be a down year until they can work out some kind of alternative to lineup or scheme up front. Maybe they have to change things a little bit in terms of how they run, like maybe switch to like a run heavy. Even though you have the receivers there, you might want to switch to a run heavy offense and do run blocking.
Blocking well in the run game either, because Mason had 19 carries for 57 yards.
57 yards. So you've got to be able to do one, and like if you can't protect your quarterback with that line, then ideally you run the ball, because then that's the O-line being aggressive. But if they can't do either well, you're in for a long season. And it's a shame really, because this team has like all the pieces in place offensively to be really dominant and an exciting team to watch play. But I honestly don't know what's going on there. And I think obviously you've got Michael Parsons on the other side of the ball, and he is a terror. But even then, to give up that many sacks, you're going to lose a game. It doesn't matter who you have there at quarterback. You give up 6 sacks. That's a recipe. That's literally like 6 sacks equals loss. You know what I mean? You can't get anything going.
Important player offensively for Dallas in this one. He had their best stat line, but Noah Brown, some of those catches he made.
Yeah, Noah Brown.
I mean, it's the rapport that he had with Cooper Rush, because they've been running scout team together. So coming in, they have some sort of established chemistry, so that helped them in this game. So, in that sense, I would say that they had that chemistry, and he made good catches to help Dallas win the ball game. But at the end of the day, just to briefly speak about Cincinnati, if they can't protect Joe Burrow, it's not going to end well. And I fear Joe Burrow might get the Andrew Luck treatment. They got to find a way to build an offensive line for Joe Burrow.
Do you know the thing is, they've invested this offseason in the offensive line.
They have, but here's the thing, though.
Dividends.
But that's the thing, though. You can invest in offensive line, but here's the thing, though. That's why I always go back to what I said at the beginning of our podcast this season, and people sometimes put the idea, but preseason matters. Like if you look at all the elite teams, especially the Chiefs, once they rebuilt Patrick Mahomes' offensive line last season, which actually helped and protected Patrick Mahomes right from the beginning of last season. Even though they were not playing well, he wasn't taking as many sacks as Burrow was taking, and that's because they played them in the preseason. I always advocate for teams, when you get new pieces, put them together for a series or two just to see how it works. Here's the thing, yes, there's practice, but you can never simulate game action compared to practice. You never know what's going to happen in the game, what sort of things they're going to do to you in the game that will make you learn the lessons on tape and take it back to practice to improve upon. And right now, this offensive line is struggling, even though they're an improved offensive line. They got to find a way to start protecting better, to start doing things better. I remember, I think when you watch the game back, at some point, I think in the second half, Joe Burrow screamed to his head coach, Zach Taylor, no empty sets. I'm not going empty anymore because I'm getting hit too much out here. No empty. I am not running an empty set and getting 4 wide receivers out. No. I need to protect myself a little bit here. And the hits were getting to him. Like Micah Parsons was coming in. He could have had 4 sacks. He had 2 sacks, but he could have had more. And I'm like, yo, you go find out if it means going in against the next game against is who the Bengals playing next?
Bengals have got the Jets.
And the Jets have some pass rushers too. Their defensive line's ferocious. So in this game coming up, and I expect Bengals to bounce back with a win here. But the key to them winning is to protecting Joe Burrow. And if it makes you have to go max protect,
3 games after that though,
and go 3-by-1, then go max protect 3-by-1. Who are the next 3?
The next 3 after that, Dolphins,
Ferocious
Ravens,
pass rush. Even more ferocious pass rush.
Saints.
Oh, listen, if they don't figure out this line by the time they play the Saints, Joe Burrow is probably going to be walking out on a stretcher. Now, I pray to God that doesn't happen to him, but he might not finish the game against the Saints because them boys come hunting.
Yeah.
If they don't get this O-line sorted out, they're going to be 1-5. 6.
Yep.
Yeah. And at some point, that systematically mathematics comes into equations, and then you're looking at the other end of a barrel, and you're thinking, what's happening with this season?
Okay, the latter half of their schedule, they still have the Chiefs to play. They have the Steelers, who probably will have. Well, obviously they've got Steelers again. We will have TJ Watt probably back by then. They've got the Ravens again. They have the Bucks. They have the Bills.
I think what they need to do is in the game against the Jets. Well, they could look around to see who's available on the trade market.
Well, Andrew Dillard, former first-round pick for Philadelphia Eagles at offensive, he's available. He didn't quite pan out for us, but if you need help, we can definitely see. Maybe we need a few of your pieces. We wouldn't mind taking.
Well, we'll give you a 5th. We can't give you draft picks like that.
We want players. Players. What you mean? We want players as well.
We're gonna give you a 5th. Take that and thank us. One last thing before we move on to Dallas. The Bengals, one thing that they can do going forward is implement quick passing game. They need to start getting the ball Burrow's hands quicker to negate the pass rush a bit if your offensive line can't protect for that long.
Now, Dallas, I don't know whether this is just an anomaly or whether this defense can actually carry them this season.
I think it was aided by that line.
I think it was
Jerry
aided by that
Jones. Yeah, Jerry Jones looked ecstatic. I haven't seen that much energy in him. I was because we got like a booth shot. He literally, you can tell from that reaction, he didn't think they were going to win this game. And when they did take it home, that man could have done a backflip. But yeah, no, they played. Cooper Rush is doing what he needs to do to keep the team rolling.
I think Dallas's defense is legit, especially their front seven. I think they're legit, especially Micah Parsons, and so far he started off the year very brilliantly. And I think Micah is getting into is starting to make his mark into the upper echelon of pass rushers. Really starting to get to that level, and I think he's not a favorite for defensive player of the year. He's probably going to end up winning it. But the thing is, they need to stop the linebacking stuff that they're still doing. Just let him rush. Every time I see him trying to cover or being in the middle and using multiple ways, it pisses me off because this guy could be averaging 3 sacks per game because his get off is crazy. He knows how to pass rush. Let him play pass rushing full time. Just let him go hand the quarterback. I mean, look, if Dan, what's the name of the defensive coordinator again?
Dan Quinn. Is it Dan Quinn?
If Dan Quinn cost Micah Parsons defensive player of the year, I'm firing him, man. Let it come good on my pick. I need him to win it.
He might be the new head coach. One thing I want to add here is Anthony Barr, which they acquired in the offseason, which they could have had Von Miller, but Jerry didn't want to pay him that much. Can you imagine Von Miller and Mike? But either way, Anthony Barr has panned out quite well for him in the middle. If you look at their linebacking core, Leighton Van Der Esch and Anthony Barr have done really well. 4 tackles, two assists. So he's producing. And I think even though he's not like the weapon he was in Minnesota, I think he's slotted in really well on this defense, and he's providing plays from the linebacker position. So I'd say that's helped them out a lot.
Now we must move on to the travesty. The travesty that's going to happen in, year out, when the Colts go down into Florida and play in Duval County. I'm at a loss for words because I can describe this Colts team as the O-line cannot block. The quarterback cannot throw. When the quarterback can throw, the receivers can't catch. And the defense can't stop anything. They cannot defend whatsoever. Every single opportunity at third down didn't matter. They were getting it.
I mean,
this was a complete and utter abject failure. And the thing is, Colts fans keep hearing the same platitudes come out of the Colts camp from Frank Reich, saying we just got to move on. But the thing is, you can't keep saying that That's 2 weeks in a row where we've played very below par teams. Once we got lucky and came out with a draw, and this time we got shut out and completely blown apart.
Yeah, I mean, having a look at this game and the scoreline alone, when you don't score any points, obviously that's horrendous. But it also tells you that the Colts didn't just want to score a field goal. They wanted to at least have some kind of dignity and get at least some points, at least get a touchdown on the board, and they weren't able to do that. So that tells me that there is an underlying problem. Like, asking you, Dilly, do you think it's a field issue or an off the field as far as like back office thing? Because I think your team has the talent, and we know that based on the performances, you've kept the majority of your roster from the previous seasons. Okay, yeah. But then Matt Ryan as well.
No, Michael Pittman was out injured.
Yep.
Matt Ryan doesn't look like he's the solution.
Nah.
Okay,
I,
so
I think everyone
hold
knew
on a
that.
second.
Even I knew he was
No,
washed.
I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be a step up on McCarthy wins.
Okay, hold on a second here, right? Okay, so Matt Ryan is a step up above Carson Wentz. Yes, he didn't
He's
do
not
much in
playing
this game.
like it. He is not.
No, but okay, he's not. But here's the thing. I mean, remember, I call 0-2 or 1-1.
0-1-1.
Okay, so yeah, all 1-1. Okay, so here's the thing though. So there's still hope, there's
We
still a
have half a
chance,
win.
right?
Half a win from 2.
Matt Ryan's gonna come good as the season progresses. He will get better. Now, granted, I don't know how the offense is wired, but it seems like this is a completely different situation compared to the previous games against the Jaguars. It seems like most of your offense revolved around Pittman, and when Pittman couldn't go, there was no other receivers that has quickly gained the chemistry of Matt Ryan. Think about it; it's a new
The
QB.
only
He
one
hasn't
was
worked.
Ashton Doolin. Ashton Doolin was the only one. You look at Desmond Patman, 6 targets, 2 receptions. Mike Strachan, 3 targets, 1 reception. Noelle Cox, 3 targets, 1 reception. Paris Campbell, 2 targets, no receptions.
I'm hearing these names for the first time, man. I think you guys need to go shopping.
No, Paris Campbell had high hopes, but he's been slowed down by injuries since he was
Paris
drafted.
Campbell's been injured a fair bit, but you look at the receiving options behind Pittman, there's not a lot.
No, that's not. But here's the thing: sometimes a veteran QB have comfortability factor with Pittman, for instance, right? So I think my Ryan was looking at it in terms of like Pittman is my trust factor since I come into a new team, and against the Colts. Where if you're gonna put blame goes all around from right to the coaches to the players, they didn't play up to par. They didn't play up to how Colts football should be played, and I think everybody deserves blame from that one for go. And it was like a pitch shutout. You don't even score a field goal to get any points on the board.
Can you believe this? Like from a defensive point of view for the Colts, Colts had 7 tackles for a loss in this game. Yeah, it was completely irrelevant because Christian Kirk, 6 targets, 6 receptions, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Would you say your Colts are missing Rocky Ya-Sin?
He was the receiver that he was playing this weekend, like the receiver that you wanted to have played.
What you mean for my Cardinals?
Yeah. The
No.
level that he played at. No, the level that he played at this weekend.
Yeah, at the level because you guys
He was
overpaid
playing
for
like
Kirk.
a wide receiver 1. No joke.
Yeah.
I've seen him play at that level for the Cardinals before.
What, as a wide receiver 1?
Week 1 against the Tennessee Titans, he had 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards.
That's once. But the way...
Not once, but early part of the season, he was balling with Kyler Murray. So I've seen it before. The only thing is that early on in the season, Christian Kirk will play great. Now, let's wait till he starts getting a couple of drops, and then we'll see how the season progresses.
Also,
I know the Christian Kirk story. Arizona's warm too. It's not like Arizona's a cold weather.
Yeah, but in the winter they have the roof closed and everything because it gets quite cool.
It's not like he's playing like in Wisconsin or he's playing in Buffalo where it's cold. I mean, hey, fair play to him. He got his money and he's in the early goings of the season. But he's going out for the Jaguars, and I'm pleased for him and the Jaguars. Like they seem to have a good thing going on.
Another player that played well in this game for the Jags, for the London Jags, Evan Ingram. He was
he seems to have turned a corner.
True.
Well, I think it was also the Colts' inability to defend inside. Against the tight end, we were like just Swiss cheese.
I mean, the memes.
It was atrocious. He had 7 catches, 46. He didn't have a lot of yardage per catch, but it was always for like a first down. It felt.
And that stuff will kill you if it keeps on happening. I mean, I feel for you, Dilly. Like it's a long season.
Giving up 5 sacks to this Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah. How's your schedule looking? Like, what's the next 2 games? Like, what have you got?
We've got the Chiefs next. So we've got a nice easy one. Really, really easy one. for a home opener.
And then,
And then we have the Titans.
okay,
So nobody knows what either team's going to play like.
what you're gonna get, yeah.
Then we've got the Broncos at Mile High. Then we
That's
host
a bit
the
of a
Jags
gauntlet.
for the revenge game.
Yeah,
And then we
that,
go to Tennessee.
yeah, that's a bit of a gauntlet. If your team start off stronger, and they weren't playing at this level, then I'd say you're in for a shot. But deficiencies have to get fixed, and you just hope
If the
whatever
Colts
they,
have no wins after week 5,
yeah.
is one of the two getting fired at the end of this season? Because there's no way it's unlikely to get playoffs.
Yeah, I think Ursay is gonna go ballistic. The thing is, like, they like Frank Reich over there. You know what I mean? They like him there. Who's your DC?
Gus Bradley.
All right.
They just
There's
won't
always
get-
there's always got to be a sacrifice. Has
I
your
don't-
GM
but I
been
don't- I
recently given an extension?
I
No,
don't.
As a
Ballard
GM,
hasn't.
he hasn't. Okay, so he might go. But if your GM gets an extension, it's always a coordinator that's going as a sacrifice. That's just how it is. So
Oh no.
Okay.
He was so he signed a 5-year contract extension in August 21, so a year ago.
a year ago
That's a long time ago. That's a long time in the league.
in the
No,
league,
but
yeah.
okay, so here's the thing. I don't think you should necessarily what you call it, get rid of your GM. I think
I'm not saying that he needs to go. I'm saying that if we're winless come end of week 5,
Someone is
and we go
going.
1-4, somebody
It's gonna
is
be
going.
it's gonna be a personnel. It's
yeah,
probably
but
gonna
are they
be Gus
going?
Bradley.
Are they going now? Or are they going at the end of the season?
I think they'll go at the end of the season because USA doesn't tend to fire mid-season.
Exactly, and if anybody's gonna go, it's gonna be one of the coordinators because
Gotta
I
be.
think Frank Reich is a good head coach that keeps that might just look at him well and kill the team and even kill to play. But here's the thing, though. I think. Do you think now is the time that coaches need to have a serious discussion, like going into the offseason, looking at how potentially the 2023 NFL draft is meant to be the next set of great young quarterbacks coming into the league? Do you think it's
They
worth
have to
it
be
for?
going for some? At the way things are looking, Colts have to. To put it this way, my friend Rob said.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
No. My friend Rob said this team better be tanking because this is just it's not sustainable beyond this year. It really isn't.
but that's what I'm saying. I think we've reached a point whereby the Colts go get a young quarterback with the potential to be a franchise quarterback and stop that stopgap band-aid veteran QB route. I think it's fine. Even if let's say Matt Ryan is able to like get back 10 the Colts around, you guys don't make the playoffs but finishes with the top 500, or you finishes not quite in the top 10 picks but in the team picks potentially. I know Ballard is risk adverse, but do you think it's time that even if you don't have a top 10 pick, the coach should move up to go and get one of these young
The only
quarterbacks?
thing I'll say is a losing record could win this division. Is bad this year. It is a bad division this year.
Yeah,
8 wins could win this division.
yes, but even if 8 wins and losing record wins the division, the question still remains. You've won a division, you're gonna be picking in the 20s. Let's say, for example, do you make the move up to go and get one of these young quarterbacks? Is it time for the coach to make that decision? Because I feel like it is, whether you end up with a top 10 pick or you end up with a pick in the 20s, still go up and get one of these young quarterbacks coming in.
I've looked at this schedule, right, just now, and I see 8 potential wins. Not even wins, potential. That includes sweeping the rest of the teams within the division, so winning 5 games. Winning 4 games, I mean. And then and then having Giants, Steelers, Pats, Commanders as the other games to win. So let's see how it goes. Right, now we must
It's
move
an
on.
uphill.
You didn't answer my
Uh,
question though.
Pardon? Sorry, your question was?
Is it time for the Colts to go get a young potential
yeah,
franchise quarterback?
100%.
Okay.
It's, the band-aid's no longer working. Moving on to Washington and Detroit. The Sun God, Amon Ra. What a play that young man is.
Yeah, he's
I
done. He's
know
done
it's
well.
Dylan's favorite wide receiver in the league at the moment.
Amon-Ra St. Brown,
Adil's favorite wide receiver.
9 receiving yards,
No, 9 receptions for 106.
9 receptions. Yeah,
Oh, he's balling, and I think he's starting to make a name for himself. That midway through the season, cornerbacks are gonna have to start paying him more attention because he's flying under the radar and he's producing, and I think he's edging closer and closer to being, probably wide receiver one material. Because he's producing week in, week out, and he's getting closer to being that guy. At the moment, he seems like he's the guy for Detroit at the moment.
Yeah.
Willing them playing very well, making tough catches. And also, I love how dynamic he is. He can take the ball and hand off. He can receive the ball, and they use him in a dynamic way. So that is a great skill set to have, and he's certainly making an effort. And he was a big draw, a big reason why they won their game this past Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jared Goff played really well too.
2 rushes as well for 68.
He played well because of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I still don't give him any credit.
It's 4 TDs, man. 256. Yeah, that's something, man. He wasn't just a
That's Amon-Ra St.
participator.
Brown. That's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, listen, our great callbacks harshly. So to ball, like, you go through 4 different receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown was a big part of it.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy for Detroit. I think this team
They might
has
stick
been.
into the wild card,
Yeah, no, they're doing really well. They're getting wins under the belt and they're getting strong performances across the board.
One thing about this team, Aiden Hutchinson, 3 sacks on the day.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's true. I was waiting for him to have like a, hey guys, I'm here game. So
He's had that.
He had that last Sunday, like showing
5
that he
tackles
can
as well.
definitely get after the quarterback. One thing I love about Aiden Hutchinson right now is the fact that he's got great hustle. I was like, he never gives up on the play. He keeps playing.
He had 3 sacks and 2 tackles for a loss.
That was an excellent game for him. And I think he has a shout. If not even defensive rookie of the year, defensive player of the week. That's if they don't do biasness and give it to Michael Parsons. But I think he's a shoe-in for NFL NFC defensive player of the week at least
We know
this
who the
week.
offensive player of the week is.
Wait, oh, for the AFC, yeah.
Tua.
Yeah, for AFC, because you don't do AFC and NFC. They don't AFC.
yeah, DeAndre Swift.
I think NFC Defensive Player of the Week, Aiden Hutchinson with the 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss performance. But that's if they don't do the media bias and give it to Michael Parsons. But I don't see how you can give Michael Parsons, saying that Hutchinson had a better production line this week. So I'm guessing he's a shoe-in for NFC Defensive Player of the Week. And he's playing very well. And if he carries on, he might end himself a Pro Bowl berth at the end of the season. But Detroit playing hard, and like I said at the beginning of the year, Detroit is going to be a team whereby you're going to have to play really hard to beat them, because right now they're playing as hard as they can. They're playing hard for Dan Campbell, and they're taking every game as it is, and they're going to give you their best shot. And like I said, there might be a sneaky wildcard team this year.
Yeah, it's been a long while since I've seen like actual stars in Detroit. So obviously we have guys like DeAndre Swift, who's turned into like a weapon, obviously at running back, but he also had some passing yards in this game as well, 5 for 56. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you've got Hutchinson. So yeah, Detroit, I think have gotten over that hump now. So
And
there's definitely
they've
some
got
noise going on down
two
there.
running
So
backs, two good running backs. They've got Jamal
two
Williams.
good
Two
running
good run.
backs.
Yes.
Yeah,
Did you
Jamal Williams
did you
as well.
see Swift's catch and run for a touchdown? That was very impressive. Like
Yeah, I did.
he weaved past a couple of players. Like, he was swift on that play though. He was up to
He's
his
got
leg.
he's got an interesting running style, 100%.
Unintended. Pun definitely.
He
intended,
he kind of reminds me of Arian Foster, like DeAndre Swift. Kind of reminds me of like Arian Foster back in the day.
He's swifty. He's swift.
In terms,
He's swift.
He's swift. He should trademark it.
Oh, yeah. I think Taylor Swift has got something to do with that. But anyway, moving on to Tampa Bay, New Orleans.
Woo.
This was a grind,
It was.
and then one man threw it all the way.
Yeah, James did. And so
Famous.
this game, here's my take. I think Brady was throwing hissy fits and stuff because Marshawn Lattimore was literally destroying Brady all game. In terms of like every throw Brady threw his way, he was defending it. Perfect technique. Sometimes people said it was a DPI because hand fighting, right the receiver to the boundary, and he was playing perfect technique. Well, you know this as a former cornerback. If you can use a silence as an extra defender, you're always gonna keep the deep ball away, and you're always gonna have your man side by side. So he was playing really well, guarding Mike Evans, guarding Scotty Miller, and playing very well. And Brady was getting upset.
Getting heated.
The little scuffle that they had and how it tipped off, I think Brady kind of like instigated it slightly so that if Evans get checked out and Lattimore get checked out, then at least now he has a chance because the number one corner that was not letting him have his way is gone. And Brady knew if it was a game whereby the first team that scored a touchdown had the momentum to go on and win because it was a very tipsy-turvy game, right?
The game in the game. You saying veteran techniques here, Pete? You saying he basically said,
of technique.
Let me say something to get this guy to come at me, maybe push me over. I'm gonna make a dive and get him out of the game. Like Brady's been in the league a long time, so he knows in and outs. But unfortunately, Mike Evans also. I think he's suspended next game. Is he?
Yep.
Next
game?
Yeah, for one game.
Yeah, so that's a
Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, that's a bit of a hit. Like I think that's gonna hurt them because he's a big part of that offense.
One of my favorite plays in the entire week was this catch by Michael Thomas. You probably know which one I'm talking about. The toe drag swag where he just
just
turned into like a statue, like turned into a limp statue. Boom. That's amazing.
It was a work of art.
Absolutely beautiful. It was a beautiful catch. And Jameis will be Jameis. I mean, how you throw 3 picks on 3 straight possessions? That was the ball game. Like when he gave the ball away 3 times in 3 straight possessions, it was ball game. It was over. But at the end of the day, Jameis gave the game to the Bucs because that Saints defense, they ain't a joke, and they really came after Brady. And I don't know. I think the Saints defense they're extra motivated when they play Brady because the way they can just shut him down, it's impressive.
Yeah, they were excited, but unfortunately, because of the free INTs, it didn't help. It didn't help at all. Chris Olave, he played good. 5 receptions for 80, solid. It didn't get a TD, but it's always good to see a rookie coming through. Yeah, but
we will now move it on to Chicago and Green Bay, who played on Sunday night. This was an interesting one because how much of an effect do you think the refs had on this game?
Let me just see. This was the one where I was skimming across multiple games, so I didn't see like all of the details for this one.
So Aaron Rodgers had a very good pass rating, 19 for 25, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, but this was an Aaron Jones game, predominantly.
Mm-hmm.
It was an
Yep.
Aaron Jones and David Montgomery game because those are the two the two players who had the good performances.
Yeah, I think this was a game whereby Rogers was sort of like on a lead on the run game a little bit because of the issues they have a wide receiver. As he's still trying to get the chemistry down with the wide receivers that he's got, the young wide receivers he's got at his disposal. I'd like to see Aaron Rodgers take a bit more of ownership and work with Christian Watson a bit more, try and get him on board, and tell him that yeah, you go shine because you're just as talented as these other wide receivers. So it was an interesting game that dominated the ball, and it was never in doubt that Green Bay was going to win this game. Although the post-game interview Justin Fields gave us a little bit interesting about how he has locker room guys more than the fans. I think Chicago Bears fans won't be happy hearing that from their starting quarterback who's playing to potentially be their franchise quarterback.
Threw the ball 7 times.
Yeah.
Completed 7 of 11.
I think he was upset at the fact that they only gave him 11 attempts to throw the football. I don't know what type of game plan that is. Like, you gotta trust your young quarterback to throw the ball more times than that. And that's the thing that we talked about earlier when we was talking about having a young quarterback and bringing a defensive head coach, because it really doesn't hasten their progression. I think the best should have brought an offensive minded coach for their young quarterback and see how that offensive minded head coach would take a young quarterback. I know the best historically sometimes prefers to have defensive coaches, but Fields needs an offensive head coach to help in his development, because I don't know how much Eberflus, because a lot of defensive minded head coaches tend to lean more towards the run game and playing defense. But when you have a young quarterback, he needs all the help he can get to develop his game and really take the next step.
Yeah, it's either that or you bring in an offensive mastermind as your either OC or quarterback coach to sort of develop him. Pep Hamilton will be great. He's doing an awesome job with Davis Mills.
Well, I was
just bring him in.
I was like,
see, Hamilton's like, let me go to work.
See, these are some of the things that I don't understand about the NFL. Pep Hamilton has a track record of developing young franchise quarterbacks in the NFL. Give him the head coach job. Let him come and develop Justin Fields. If anything, he can get Fields to become a franchise quarterback. He's done his job.
Yeah, I mean, he's done awesome work. Like, he did your guy Andrew Luck. Davis Mills is performing better than anyone expected.
He also did Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert as well. Like, it's not a fluke. If I'm Eberflus and I have an opportunity, I would pay top dollar to bring this guy as an either OC or head coach or quarterback coach, because he will do wonders with Justin Fields. And I mean, Justin Fields is already like, well, we'll get into it later on, but we all know like who should have been the second overall pick on that draft. So I think he's obviously a bit frustrated because when he only got 11 chances with the ball.
Yeah,
that's
it's an excuse.
That's malpractice. You can't do that to your franchise guy. He needs the ball in his hands to make plays. You know what I mean? And I think they could have been able to do a lot more if they put the ball in his hands, whether that's on the ground with him running it or him breaking out of the pocket and making those throws. So that's not good, man. That's not good.
Speaking of players that you want to be seeing on the field, when is it going to be Kenny Pickett time?
Sooner rather than later, man.
Week 5. I think Mitch will get at least 4 weeks, and then it'll go over to Pickett.
They didn't look. Well, to be honest, neither team looked good in this game. 18-16. It was the only. Well, yeah. There's something fundamentally wrong with that Pittsburgh offense with Trubisky at the helm. They need to get the new kid in and just.
Yeah, we kind of knew Mitch's ceiling heading in, and even I said last week, like, he won that game because, well, of the inability of the teams of the Bengals to sort of finish the game when they needed to. but they weren't dominating or anything. And it's seeing as though they've lost their main playmaker on defense, they need someone on offense that can breathe new life. They're going to ride Mitch, but they're basically going to allow him to play himself out of that position. This game is one of those games that's going to help remove him, and I can see them bringing in Little Hands a lot earlier than we suspect, and I think he's going to do really well.
Listen, the Steelers going to give me my young iconic duo, Pickett to Pickens. Yeah, I need to see that connection.
All right,
Peter P.
on to Carolina, New York Giants. The New York Giants 2-0. Who the fuck that start season?
They're over the moon.
Yeah, the early goings is great, and they're playing well and hard enough. So let's see how the season progresses for them. They're both doing an incredible job so far. I think he probably would keep this job, but I think they'll move on from Danny Dimes come end of the season. They'll go and get one of these young quarterbacks.
If they keep winning, they might not be able to.
The equipment, they might not, yeah. But I don't think the offense is kind of shifting away from Daniel Jones. Yeah, I think the offense is kind of shifting away from him. I think they're going to run the ball. They're going to give him high percentage, easy throws. It's not going to be a deep ball team anymore. You know what I mean? It's high percentage throws, get the ball out of his hands, minimize the errors. He obviously can't make he can make the hard throws, but he's not accurate enough and he gets intercepted. They don't want the ball in his hands too long because he will fumble the ball or turn it over. So rather than go through that, they're just going to get the ball out of his hands soon. So they're minimizing the chances of him making errors, So I think Dabo's doing an awesome job, 100%.
Looking at the schedule, they could easily get another 7 wins.
Could they finish second?
They could get 7 more wins. They've got Cowboys. They could easily beat them twice. You never know what happens in those divisional games.
Yeah.
They've got the Jags. Could easily beat them. They've got the Bears. They could easily beat them. Seahawks. Texans.
They could beat them. I guess. That'll be interesting. They might surprise a few people this year.
Let's see how Monday night goes. We'll talk about that on Thursday. The Rams.
Panthers. Oh, Rams.
Panthers themselves. There's going to be a new QB there next year. I'm already certain.
Well, it's going to be a new.
Well, they'll get a new head coach as well.
Yeah.
Matt Rule is done. He's finished. Used up resources to get resources back. Then you get the same resources back that you sacrificed to go. Excuse me?
They are done.
Nah. I'm finished with this.
They are playing the AFC North. They are playing the NFC West this year. They are. I'm looking at their schedule.
That could be
the Falcons.
I mean, historically, they've always been like a boogie team from Arizona Cardinals, but this year, for the first time, I believe we're going to beat them. Why? Because Baker Mayfield's a quarterback, and we always beat Baker Mayfield.
Right. Moving on. Atlanta Falcons were 28-3 down in this game, and they almost won. They were so close to winning. Can you imagine if they'd done that?
The sky would be burning if they'd won. Literally, the sky would be falling for the Rams.
It'll be panic mode for the Rams if they had lost to the Falcons, because then that'll be 0-2, and that would not have been great for their season. But I think managed to hold on to win that game makes it interesting for the game coming up against Arizona Cardinals next week, which is interesting. But the thing is, the Rams are now facing what most Super Bowl champions face, which is like they're being hunted. Every team's going to give you your best, even if they're
it's true. That's true. It doesn't matter if you're the worst team in the league. You will play your best ball because this is you playing against the champs. So you want to really measure yourself.
Just before I go, quick question: is Matthew Stafford regressing? Because he's thrown 5 interceptions in 2 games so far now.
Too much hero ball. Last year he did less of hero,
True.
less of it. One thing for the Falcons, Drake London had a very good game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very good.
Yes.
86. 8 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown.
He's coming along really well.
Whoever becomes the next young franchise quarterback for them, have got 2 great receiving options right off the bat.
Yep. USC receiver as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London. Could we be starting to see a revival of USC receivers coming through? There's obviously a good positional coach over there that's developing these guys really well. So you might want to get a good relationship. Bill Belichick needs to speak to that guy.
Moving on to the 49ers.
I feel
horrific.
Yes, feel bad for Trey Lance. It's just another setback for his development because now, unfortunately, he has to go and rehab and has to come back in the offseason and learn to play the position again. When this time could have been great for him to have a full season to develop. It's a good thing they got Jimmy G back, so I shouldn't expect much. In fact, the 49ers will do better. They're definitely going to make the playoffs with Jimmy G as their quarterback.
Yeah.
But the only thing is, let's just hope Jimmy G also don't get nicked because Jimmy G don't really play full seasons now. We do know that sometimes he'll get nicked and he could mix 4 or 5 games, and that could put him into trouble. So Godspeed and good health for Jimmy G for the rest of the season.
I heard some rumors that they might be trying to get Mason Rudolph in as a backup, but that's neither here or there. They got out of there with a win. Seattle Seahawks reverted to the Seattle Seahawks we expected them to be, and who I think they will continue to be for the rest of the season. I think last week one was a freak occurrence. I think they just had Russell's number and they knew how to play against him.
One thing about that performance against Broncos, they knew the call signs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tyler Lockett was telling the defensive guys.
He was literally shouting what was going on. He's like, they've got all the same call signs.
Yeah. But that's a bit of a negligence on Russell Wilson, though. I mean, you go to a new team, you play your old team. Why don't you change out the signals a little bit? Come on, man. Yep. Come on now.
Exactly. Moving to the final game, Denver, Houston. What is going on?
Let's ride.
It was.
Go Broncos.
Do you know what the thing is in this game? They don't trust Russ.
They don't trust him. That's on Hackett, man.
No, they don't. And okay, so here's the thing, right? I feel like Russ needs to.
Hackett's time management is just non-existent.
Yeah, it's horrible. But most importantly, I feel like Russ needs to go into Hackett's office either today or some point this week and be like, look, you brought me here to be the guy. Trust me to play quarterback like how I want to play. I came to play for you, an offensive-minded head coach. Let's get in sync and let's do this thing. Like, stop overanalyzing things. Let me cook. I came here to cook.
Yeah, it's kind of disrespectful, actually, because Ross has been in the league for so long now, and he's experienced, he's a vet, and he's there like, I've been there and done it. I've weathered storms. I've carried the Seahawks on my back. Like, I know how to lead a team. You know, just it's kind of like slightly disrespectful. And I know he's not saying much, but I know Sierra, when he gets home, is telling him, you need to speak to your boss, because it just doesn't sit well with me that he's not given as much free reign of that offense. He's earned the right to do that. You know, you play in the league for that amount of time at that level, you earn the right to basically be able to call your own plays if you see the openings on the defense. So I actually think Hackett's holding him back.
Exactly. I mean, in contrast, like, okay, so he has a little reference back to like some of these young callbacks even gets the opportunity to do that. Like, think about this past weekend against the Raiders, for instance. In the second half, Cliff in the post game said, I just told Kyler, now you got to go. Just take over. Do whatever you need to do to get us back in the game when we have the ball. So Kyler was essentially calling his own plays out there, running, making throws, trying to get us back in the game. Look at back some young quarterbacks that have pulled back. Look at last year, Joe Burrow, for instance. There's so many games that the Bengals had to come back to win, and literally it was like fourth quarter, Joe Burrow, do what you do, go take us back. So Hackett has to trust Russell, and Russell Wilson has so many fourth quarter comeback wins. It's time to put the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter if the game is tight, and let Russ do what Russ does.
Yeah.
All right. Ball of the week. Who are you guys? Tua for me. Mine's Tua. It's
Kyler.
there's no.
I'm gonna take Kyler from Pete. So he has to think of someone else.
Kyler's performance, if you look at the numbers, wasn't amazing, but all right.
Is the impact.
It's the impact. Who's your
Yeah.
ball of the
Is the
week?
impact. I mean, okay, so ball of the week, I'm gonna go Aiden Hutchinson. To be a rookie and to have such a high level impact for your defense, coming up with 3 sacks and two tackles for a loss against a Commanders team that is essentially, they have a good team, they have a good offensive line, and it's no easy joke. So shout out to Aiden Hutchinson. He's flew under the radar and he performed admirably for the Lions.
Okay, what is your play of the week?
Kyle's throw again to tie the game. The 2-point to AJ Green.
Okay.
Not the runs, but the throw.
I was actually going to say his pass to Hollywood Brown. The touchdown.
Ooh. Yeah, that was a good. Yeah. Between two defenders, and it was like on the left, he caught it 100, right?
So that is joint, and Nelson Aguilar mossing that defender for that touchdown.
Yeah, that was a play.
Will?
I'm probably gonna go with, I think you already sort of brought it up. It was a Michael Thomas toe tap.
Toe drag swag.
Toe drag. Yeah.
Swag. All right. Well, we are done for tonight. We're going to send a raid off to somebody who we hope to have on the show in the coming weeks. So we're going to send everyone off to Daniel Freak. He is currently playing Madden right now, and we'll catch everyone next time. So
Over and out.
Goodbye from me. Goodbye from Will.
All right.
And goodbye from Pete.
Over and out.